It is Friday and time for What Matters Most with life coach Dieter Pauwels. And Dieter has been introducing us to some of his favorite inspirational books. And one of those books is The Art of Possibility by Benjamin Zander. And he is the conductor of the Philharmonic Orchestra in Boston and a classical music lover and a great communicator.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Really
person.
interesting. He has some great, he teaches as well.
Yeah.
And one of the things he tells his students of the New England Conservatory of Music is when he starts his class, he says, everybody in here gets an A. Can you explain that?
Everybody gets an A to start a class. What a wonderful way of starting the year. Here's what students have to do. They have to write him a letter, dated the following year, and the letter has to say, "Dear Mr. Zander, I received an A in your class because."
Wow. So they start out with the intention.
Wonderful, yeah. So he creates a space for these students to create a new possibility for themselves. And if you allow me, I would just read 3 lines of one of these letters from this book.
I will allow you.
Yeah, wonderful, thank
Okay.
you. He said, "Dear Mr. Zander, I got my A because I had the courage to examine my fears and I realized that they have no place in my life. I changed from someone who was scared to make a mistake in case she was noticed to someone who knows that she has a contribution to make to other people musically and personally."
Wow.
This is about transforming people's lives by giving people an A, by recognizing people as a unique, resourceful and creative human being, and let people live into that possibility.
Yeah, it's just an opposite way of doing it. It's like, I'm giving you an A, now live up to that.
We tend to label
Live
people.
into that.
Yeah, but we tend to label people. Because if you give people an A, B, C, it's about comparing students among students, being better than, being not good enough. And once we have this label on us, whether it's a grade or something else, we tend to become that label. And then people say, well, that's just the way I am. I say, no, you allowed yourself to become that person because somebody labeled you as not being smart enough or good enough or this.
I love the way he relates everything to his passion with classical music. Now, his wife is a therapist, and so together they wrote the book, right?
Yeah.
So there's all the psychological stuff, but also
Yeah.
the love of music that he talks about.
It's an art, yeah.
Yes, it is. And understanding that everybody, you know, he says, you may not like classical music or think you don't, but if you listen to certain pieces in the way that he tells you and guides you to listen, you have a whole different take on it.
Yeah, it's a whole new appreciation for classical music, and especially in St. Louis, we have no longer our station on the air, as you know, so it's time to get that back on the air.
Now, you mentioned that in this climate with the elections, and especially these toxic, politicians out there, it's just been so negative. This is an example of everybody getting an F, right?
An F is Z of 0, you know, that's a Z. If you listen to these messages, Christine, you got to ask yourself the question, are these the people that we want to represent us? Because we're participating somehow in this process.
But unfortunately, Dieter, it shows that, negative messages work, and that's why everybody does it.
We don't have to accept that.
Okay, we have to change that.
We can live into a new possibility of making a contribution, which is the second thing that I like.
Is that concept of making a contribution? What does he mean by that? What does Zander mean by that?
You see, we live in a world where it's about success, failure. There's always an opposite. Contribution has no opposite. It is what it is. So if you declare yourself to be a contribution to others, you can transform other people's lives, and by doing so, Christine, you can transform your own life. It's like what Zig Ziglar used to say, if you give enough people what they want, you will get what you want.
And do you find sometimes as a life coach that people sort of wallow in a certain place that I can't do this, I want to do this, but I can't, I'm paralyzed to do that, and sometimes when they get outside of themselves and make a contribution, they get something back that is unexpected, and they truly get outside of themselves.
And the fear disappears because there's no more anxiety of being rejected. You are a contribution. You want to make a difference for other people, and by doing so, you cannot fail.
I think it's great. Well, anyway, it's a great little book, The Art of
Yeah.
Possibility. Again, it's a tiny little book with a lot of wisdom in there. And you can learn more about it, and you can go to our website to learn more about Dieter as well. Thanks, Dieter. And we'll see you again next Friday on News 11 at noon, and today on News 11 at 4. Well, a puppy auction sparked